Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 149th Kentucky Derby preview. I'm your host, Ben Mostaller, and the host of the Sports Lock podcast, where I break down a lot of things fantasy football, sports betting, and now this time of year, the Triple Crown races, and starting off with the Kentucky Derby. Over the next, 30 to 45 minutes, I'll be breaking down the 20 horse field running in this year's Derby, going horse by horse, and at the end letting you know my predictions of the race. I believe probably at least half the field, in my opinion, has a chance to win, but at the end we'll break it down as best as we can to give you my top picks and a little bit of the bets that I'll be placing. But if you follow me on TikTok and Instagram at Sportslock Podcast, you'll have up-to-date news and bets that I'll be placing come Saturday. So the Kentucky Derby will be run this coming Saturday, May 6th at Churchill Downs. Post time, 6:45-ish Eastern time on Saturday night. It'll be, again, a 20-horse field going 1.25 miles, the longest race that these horses have run in so far. Now, these are the horses going into Saturday's race. 2 horses have been scratched. Practical Move, who was a top favorite of mine, and Lord Miles. Practical Move has been feeling ill, and we just heard news about Lord Miles. He could race, however, the trainer, Saffie Joseph Jr., has been banned from Churchill Downs due to unexpected 2 horses dying this week leading up to the Derby. So he will not be run, which leads open 2 spots for 2 horses to come in, that being Cyclone Mischief at 21 and at 22, Mandarin Hero. So we'll be breaking down those horses as we go through this podcast, giving you the best details on each horse as I can, and of course, my prediction on how I think they will do. So let's start with the number one horse here that will be breaking from the first post, which is a very tough post to break from due to the rail. But this is going to be Hit Show at 30-1 for Manny Franco and trainer Brad Cox. So Brad Cox will be having 4 horses in this race, the most by any trainer, and those horses are, of course, Hit Show, Angel of Empire, Jace's Road, and Verifying. Brad Cox is a well-known trainer. He has won the Derby before, back in 2021 with Mandaloon, and he is using Manny Franco as his jockey to ride Hit Show, and this will be Franco's 5th Derby, with his best finish coming second on Tis the Law in 2020. Now, Hit Show is coming off a disappointing second place finish to Lord Miles in the Grade 2 Wood Memorial, which he lost by a nose. Now, Lord Miles had a nice comeback race there, and he won't be in this year's Derby, so Hit Show won't have to worry about him, but a lot of better competition in this race for Hit Show. Now, I'll be talking a lot during this podcast about graded stakes races, and grade 1 is your best one, kind of like your Division 1 in football. You have your Alabamas, you have your Clemsons and Georgias. In any sport in college, you have your D1, that's your best. So the grade 1 is going to be the best races. Might talk about claiming races, which are below the graded stakes races, and maiden claiming races, which is your beginning level horse races that these horses have to win in order to move on into these higher level races. So besides that race, the Grade 2 Wood Memorial, he's a winner of 3 of his last 4, including a Grade 3 Withers win by over 5 horse lengths. A positive thing about Hit Show is that his wins are by an average of 4 horse lengths. So when he does it, he pulls away from the competition. But one of the negative things is that his worst race ever was at Churchill Downs, where they're racing on Saturday, where he lost by over 7 horse lengths to Derby competitors Confidence Game and Rocket Can. 2 horses that have potential, but I don't think they'll finish, they'll probably finish around the top 10 in my opinion. So that should just show you the competition that he's been leveled up to and how bad he lost. We saw last year, Rich Strike, the only thing that you could really look on paper for him to win it all was that he won a race at Churchill Downs. Other than that, he was a bad looking horse. So noting that, this horse did poorly at Churchill Downs, but he's raced there before, so maybe he's got a little experience on that track compared to a lot of these other horses. So I think the hit show, he could be a nice long shot play, but the fact that he has no grade one races under his belt, he lost a grade two race and lost to some Derby competition means that I will not be betting him to hit the board this Saturday. And when I talk about hitting the board, that means finishing in the top four to hit your exotics, your exacta, which is the top two, your trifecta top three, and your superfecta top four. And if we take a look at the number one post, it's the toughest, of course, like I said, because you're pinned up against the rail. And if you don't break well, you can be pushed back really far. And hit show doesn't really necessarily have that early speed. Although there are 8 winners from the post, which is third most out of any of the posts, no horse has won it there since 1986. So hit show will be looking to do something that hasn't been done in a lot of years. I move to the 15-1 horse, and that is Verifying, the number 2. Verifying will be ridden by Tyler Gaffleone and Brad Cox, who we just discussed. But if we take a look at the jockey Tyler Gaffleone, his best finish was 7th in 5 Derby appearances. So he's struggled a little bit in his Derby, but he's a young jockey or a guy that I really enjoy watching. So let's take a look at Verifying. His last race was impressive. He posted a 101 buyer speed figure. So when you're taking a look at any of the horses, if they can hit over 100 on the speed figures, it means they're a pretty good horse. And you'll see a couple of the horses here that we talk about get to that number. But the problem was, even though he posted that number, he couldn't hold on to the lead, and he lost it to Tapit Trice, who is the second favorite in this year's Derby. They're going a further distance, which doesn't help either, than in that race that he let Tapit Trice pass him by at the end. That race was the Grade 1 Bluegrass Stakes. Verifying only has 2 wins, with his first being his maiden claimer and the other an $80,000 optional claiming race, which, in my opinion, isn't that good. So you would expect the Derby horse to at least win that. Verifying, like I said, he seems to fall in races where he doesn't control the lead, and going a further distance, I don't think doesn't help. He ran in 3 Grade 1 races, finishing second twice and 6th by 12 horse lengths once, which is not good at all. Again, it doesn't help that he's down near the rail, and a horse has not won it from the 2 spot since Affirmed in 1978. He's been improving speed-wise as a horse, and, he almost did beat the second favorite in this race. So that is something positive to look at, but I just don't see him being able to hold up with the competition. I think his odds drop closer down to 20-25 to 1 come post time on Saturday. So I think he finishes closer to 10th overall. I'm not going to be betting Verifying on Saturday. 2 Phils. He's going to be a commonly bet horse this weekend just because of the name. He's named after 2 people named Phil, and his jockey Jareth Loverberry and trainer Larry Ravelli will be making their Derby debuts. 2 Phils comes into this race off his best one yet, winning the Grade 3 JR Stakes race by over 5 horse lengths, and posed a 107 buyer speed figure, which is the fastest speed recorded out of any of the horses in the field. 2 Phils has been training well lately and has recorded a win on the slop at Churchill, which is impressive. Again, we're looking at horses that did well at Churchill Downs. This guy has done it. Besides the last race, 2 Phils has only 3 other wins and finished outside the top 3 in 2 of 8 career races. Not a good sign there. His worst race was a Grade 1 race, which he got 7th by 10 horse lengths to the Derby favorite Forte. So I think, as a personal favorite, from the name, from the story, he's going to be overbet. But a horse that, in my opinion, if you lose by 10 horse lengths, but get 7th to a Derby favorite, that is not a good sign at all. What I don't like in his losses is that he lost ground going further in distance. So this will be the furthest race he's ran in. But if 2 Phils can put up a performance like he did in his last race, he definitely could be a tough competition to potentially hit the board. I am going to stay away from 2 Phils just based off of when he's faced the top competitors, he's struggled, and for the fact that he falls in some of those races. But if you think you want to bet a horse that did well at Churchill Downs, 2 Phils might be your guy. Now, the 3-post has 5 winners, with the last coming in 1998. We jump to the number 4 confidence game at 20-1 for jockey James Graham and trainer Keith DeSormo. James Graham will be riding in his 3rd Derby, which he hasn't had success so far. Keith DeSormo, the trainer, will be trying to win his 1st Derby as well. Confidence game is looking for some confidence to win at 20-1 against some very tough competition. Confidence game has beaten some of the field, including Reincarnate and Rocket Can, but 2 horses that have really bad odds to win it. He was a winner of his last race, which was the Grade 2 Rebel Stakes in the slot, but other than that, Confidence Game has slow speed figures and tends to drop in longer races. He has 0 Grade 1 races and lost both Grade 3 races by an average of 8 horse lengths, which is absolutely terrible. The only positive that I can find for him, though, for looking for racing at Churchill Downs, he has won 2 of 4 races run at Churchill Downs. Now, again, I'm not going to take that into consideration too much. I don't think I'm still going to be betting him. A horse that will probably stay around 21 because of the name. I think a lot of people will like that. So I see him right around there. But Post 4 also has 5 winners, but none since 2010. Now we jump to the 2nd favorite, Tapit Trice, for jockey Luis Saez and trainer Todd Pletcher. Interesting enough, Pletcher has 2 of the favorites here, Forte and Tapit Trice, in this race. Now, he also has the experience of winning derbies. He has the most experience out of any of the trainers in this field, winning 2 in 2010 and 2017. He has Luis Saez riding for him, who's making his 10th Derby appearance, with his best finish being 3rd on Essential Quality in 2021. So what is so good about Tapit Trice? Well, he has won 4 of his 5 career races and never finished outside the top 3. Tapit Trice has some speed, and no matter where he's at on the track, if he's leading, if he's far behind, he always finds a way to win. He does better at longer distances as well, which really benefits, since this will be the longest race any of these horses have raced in. What are the negatives, though? There's always negatives, and people like to look at the pros and the cons. Well, here's some of the cons. So some of the cons are that he has only 2 graded stakes races under his belt, and the only competition was verifying who he barely beat in a horse that I don't really care for too much. He also isn't blowing out the competition. He's barely getting the job done, although he is getting the job done. That being said, he's a great horse. He always finds a way to win, and I definitely think that he has a chance to win this Saturday and definitely hit the board. I also think that he has one of the best posts at number 5 compared to some of the favorites that are going to be way further outside of him. If we take a look, most Derby winners have won from post 5, which is 10 total wins. That helps out a lot too. And the last was in 2017 with Always Dreaming, and none other than Todd Pletcher was the trainer of that horse. So a lot to love about Tapit Trice than negative things about him, and definitely a horse that could win. The beautiful gray Tapit Trice. Number 6 is Kingsbarns at 12-1 for jockey Jose Ortiz and trainer Todd Pletcher. This horse is the only undefeated horse in this field, and we take a look at his jockey Jose Ortiz, best finished 2nd on Good Magic 2018, and this will be his 8th Derby appearance. And we take a look at Todd Pletcher. We already talked about him. He's got some amazing horses, arguably the 3 best in this race. Kingsbarns won the Grade 2 Louisiana Derby, an optional claiming 75,000 race by 7 horse lengths, and of course his maiden race. He is training very well and likes to be near the lead. Everything looks amazing for Kingsbarn to potentially win this race, but the only negative for me at least, and for that horse, is the lack of races run in, only 3, and only one of them being a graded stakes race. That was the Grade 2 Louisiana Derby, where he did kind of lose a horse length on the 2nd place finisher in that one when he crossed the finish line. So when you add that up, it's tough to say how he'll do. Not much competition. That's kind of what's going to hurt him in the lack of races. I believe that he will be single digits come Saturday. I would say 8-1 is what I'm going with. And from post 6, there's only been 2 winners, so he's trying to defy some odds there, and none since 1993. So Kingsbarns, I think, because he's undefeated, will be a popular pick and probably could end up being the third favorite come post time on Saturday. Now, a very, very, very long shot that I like is the 50-1 Reincarnate for jockey John Velasquez and trainer Tim Yakteen. Reincarnate comes in tied for the worst odds in the Derby this year, along with Continuar, but has the best jockey in the field with John Velasquez. Velasquez has won 3 Derbies from 2011 to 2020 and will be riding in his 25th Derby, the most by any jockey this coming race. Tim Yakteen trains Reincarnate, but will have a better shot. Well, he would have had a better shot, I should say, with Practical Move, who has been scratched from the race due to a fever. Yakteen is the trainer who took over for the majority of Bob Baffert's horses, since Baffert can't put horses into the Derby. Tim Yakteen does so. At 50-1, there's a lot to like about this horse. You get a lot of great value for him. He's never finished worse than third in any race and has won 2 races. However, one of the races was his maiden claiming, which took him 4 tries to win, and a grade 3 race. Reincarnate does not like to get to the lead early, but struggles to hold that lead. I think 50-1 is pretty unfair for him. I think a lot of people will play him up to 20 to 30-1, which makes for an amazing long shot play. Ultimately, I don't see him winning this race at all, but you never know. We didn't think the Rich Strike would do it last year. Reincarnate could be the one to do it this year. So definitely a long shot that I'm playing. And post 7 has 7 winners, so lucky number 7 for him. And most recent Triple Crown winner Justify broke from post 7, the number 7 horse, in 2018. So watch out for Reincarnate as a long shot on Saturday. Number 8 is Mage. Mage is another great horse at 15-1 for a lot of people, but not so much for me. He's got the experienced jockey with Javier Castellano, who will be looking to win his first Derby in 16 appearances. And the trainer, Gustavo Delgado, is looking to train Mage to that victory. Mage comes in with only 3 races under his belt, like Kingsbarns, but has only 1 race, which is his maiden race that he has won. Mage has only raced at Gulfstream, and I assume he has good odds because of almost being Forte in his last time out. However, in his second race, the Grade 2 Fountain of Youth, Mage finished 4th behind Forte, who won. Is Mage improving? Yes, he definitely is. But I think he's overpriced at 15-1 for the amount of races that he's been in, for the amount of races that he's won, and he deserves to be closer to 25-1, in my opinion. Post 8 has the second most winners, though, with 9, which Medina Spirit won recently in 2021. Number 9, another kind of long shot that I like, is Skinner at 20-1 for jockey Juan Hernandez and trainer John Shirefs. We take a look at the jockey Juan Hernandez. Both him and the trainer are looking to win their Derby debut. Skinner continues to improve in his races, but has only won 1 of 6 races, which was his maiden race, kind of like the horse we just talked about. He has been competing with Practical Move and nearly came back to beat him in the Grade 1 Santa Anita Derby. Skinner has hit the board 4 of his last 6 crew races, and I think the distance will benefit him, which makes him an interesting play to hit the board on Saturday. Do I think he wins? No, but I wouldn't be shocked at 20-1 if he hits the board. I think he is worth a play for a show bet for sure and could come down to 15-1. What I like about Skinner is that Practical Move has been putting up some incredible times in the races. Skinner has been right on his tail, so it puts him time-wise with some of the top competition in this race. Take a look at post 9. It's produced 4 winners and none since 1972. Now, we were to talk about Practical Move, but he has been scratched. He was my second favorite to win on Saturday, but unfortunately, due to a fever, they will scratch him. So we're going to move along and move to the 11 horse Disarm. Disarm is at 30-1 for jockey Joel Rosario and trainer Steve Asmussen. So Disarm has amazing connections. Joel Rosario, winner of the 2013 Derby, and Steve Asmussen, winner of 2 Preakness Stakes and a Belmont Stakes. So he's looking to add that Kentucky Derby to his resume. Disarm has never not hit the board as well and continues to improve his speed. He is training well at Churchill, but also had one of his worst finishes at Churchill, and his only win was his maiden claiming race. So when you take a look at that, not good at Churchill in races. He's only won his maiden claiming race. Can Disarm make a run? Sure, but I just don't see it happening against this competition. Post 11 also only has 2 winners, with the last coming in 1988. Jace's Road at 15-1 for Florent Giroux riding him, and trainer Brad Cox, who we've already talked about a lot with the 4 horses in this race. It's again another set of amazing connections. Florent Giroux won the 2021 Derby with Mandaloun, who eventually got stripped of the win, but he'll be making his 7th appearance. Jace's Road is coming in at 15-1, which I believe is extremely generous. I'll say it right now, the 15-1 horses in this race might be the worst 15-1 horses ever in a Kentucky Derby. I think some 20-1s and 30-1s have a better shot than the 15-1s. And you'll find out why here in a second. He has only won 2 races, including his maiden and a $100,000 stakes race. One of his worst races, where he unseated the rider, was at Churchill Downs, and he tends to struggle going the distance. He has bad speed, and in all honesty, I think he should be closer to 30-1 to 40-1 come post time on Saturday. I'm staying away from Jace's Road, and from post 12, there's only been 3 winners, and none since 1971. The number 13 horse, Sun Thunder, at 30-1 has a fun name. Jockey Brian Hernandez Jr. and trainer Kenneth McPeak are looking to win their first Kentucky Derbies. Kenneth McPeak is also looking to add to the resume of the Derby. He's won the Belmont and Preakness Stakes. Brian Hernandez has struggled in his amounts when he has rode in the Derby, and this will be his 4th Derby appearance. Sun Thunder is a horse that wants to come back in races, but struggles too. Only a winner of his maiden race, Sun Thunder tends to drop going further distances, although his best race, he came in second, almost beating Angel of Empire, and he did beat 2 fills. Can he make an upset on Saturday? Sure, any horse here could make an upset on Saturday, but I don't see it happening with Sun Thunder, and I'm not going to be betting it either. The 13th spot has 5 winners, which Nyquist was the most recent in 2016. Now we're going to go with back-to-back favorites in this one. The 3rd favorite, Angel of Empire, for trainer Brad Cox and jockey Flavien Prat. Flavien Prat has been in 5 derbies and has won 1, which was Country House due to disqualification in 2019. Angel of Empire has been an impressive horse of late, winning 4 of 6 career starts. He has never dropped back even in his 6th place loss, and won the Grade 1 Arkansas Derby and Grade 2 Rising Star, with not even being the favorite. 4-1 in the Arkansas Derby and 13-1 in the Rising Star. This is a horse that continues to improve and can find his way to the winner's circle on Saturday. He likes the distance, and his speed has been increasing every race, but the only negative would be the level of competition and amount of graded stakes races that he's competed in. But a horse that has been defying the odds no matter what his odds are, finding a way to win. Number 14 has the longest drought of a winner, which no horse has won in post 14 since 1961. Can Angel of Empire break that streak? I think that he can. The favorite, Forte, 3-1 for jockey Irad Ortiz Jr. and trainer Todd Pletcher. Irad Ortiz Jr. Is looking to win, this will be his 7th Derby ride, looking to win his first Derby ever. Why is Forte the favorite? Well, he has the most Grade 1 wins, which are 4, including the Florida Derby, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, the Breeders' Cup Future, and the Hopeful Again Stakes. He has only one loss, which was a fourth place loss, and 7 career starts. No matter where he is, whether he's early on the lead or if he's in the back, he finds a way to win. We saw that happen in the Florida Derby. He came out of the back of the pack and still got across the finish line first. He was in fifth going down the stretch and again pulled away from Mage, who was at the top. The only negative from Forte is that he hasn't trained well at Churchill, posting the 29th worst time out of 33 horses when he trained that day, but that was only going 5 furlongs, and the shorter distance is worse for him. Forte is my favorite to win the race. As long as he doesn't get too far back, I think he has a fantastic shot to win. We have seen him get battle tested, race in and out, and he always finds that way to win. Post 15 has had success as well with 6 winners, the most from post 11 to 20, and recently won by Authentic in 2020. Number 16 is Raise Cain, 15-1 for jockey Gerardo Corrales and trainer Ben Colebrook, both looking to win in Derby debuts. Raise Cain is another shocking 15-1 horse who's one of the slowest, if not the slowest horse in the field, which doesn't help him breaking from post 16. He has only one win besides his maiden, which came on a muddy track, and it's not going to be muddy on Saturday as the weather looks nice. He also had his worst race ever at Churchill Downs, finishing 8th by 18 horse lengths in his maiden debut there. Raise Cain finds ground late to make a comeback, but I think he will struggle against this field on Saturday. His connections are also pretty weak with jockey and trainer combo, and post 16 has had 4 winners, though, with the last being Animal Kingdom in 2011. So some success there, but I just don't see it this Saturday for Raise Cain. Very interesting horse, in my opinion, is Derma Sotogoke, 10-1 for jockey Christopher Lemaire and trainer Otanashi. Derma Sotogoke is a favorite in this race coming in from Japan. His rider, Christopher Lemaire, this will be his second Derby. He finished 13th last year on Crown Pride. Derma Sotogoke won the UAE Derby in impressive fashion by 5 horse lengths and won 4 of his last 5 races. He's a comeback horse that loves the distance, which should help him at Churchill on Saturday. He trained very well at Churchill, and I definitely think that he can find a way to win this race and should be a favorite there, probably within the top 12. The only bad thing is that Japanese horses don't normally fare well in the Kentucky Derby, and Derma Sotogoke is, of course, a Japanese horse. So how will he do? I don't know. That's really the only negative for him, is the history with the Japanese horses. But I do think he has a great shot to win and could be the first ever horse to win from post 17. Rocket Can, number 18, 15-1 for jockey Junior Alvarado and trainer William Mott. Although Junior has never won, Bill Mott has back in 2019 with Country House. Rocket Can has faced the toughest competition in the last few races, including Angel of Empire and Forte. Rocket Can has struggled going the distance, dropping in 5 of 7 races. He has 2 wins, including his maiden and the Grade 3 Holy Bull, but other than that, he has struggled. He also does not do well at Churchill, though winning once and almost winning twice, and as we saw last year, having won races at Churchill says something, as Rich Strike proved that. I should say that he does do well at Churchill, my correction. Do I think Rocket Can compete? Yes, but I ultimately am not picking him to hit the board. He's getting worse and worse as his races go on and as they get harder. And this will be the toughest one yet, especially from the 18 post. And it has only had 2 winners, but ironically, Country House was the last one, which Bill Mott trained. Number 19 is Lord Miles, who is scratched due to Safi Joseph Jr. being banned from Churchill Downs due to 2 horses dying unexpectedly this week. So he is banned, which means Lord Miles will be unable to race in this race. He was a horse that I didn't see hitting the board anyways. Number 20 is Continuar at 50-1 for jockey Ryose Sakai and trainer Y Yahagi. Last but not least, we have the 50-1 shot there for Continuar, and it isn't last, but it would have been if we wouldn't have had those scratches. This horse has struggled in big races, including a 10-length loss in the UAE Derby. He most likely, in my opinion, is the worst horse in this field. But of course, we saw last year with Rich Strike, anything is possible. Now we'll talk about the two that got in due to the scratches. Cyclone Mischief comes in at 30-1, and he gets in due to practical move scratching. As of now, the jockey is to be announced, but trainer is Dale Romans, who's looking to add a Kentucky Derby win to his incredible resume. Cyclone Mischief comes in off a third-place finish in the Florida Derby and Fountain of Youth. This horse does not fare well at the longer distance as he tends to drop, which is why I see him finishing towards the back of the pack. So I don't really have him, coming close to winning this one. But the number 22, Mandarin Hero, who comes in due to the scratch of Lord Miles, is a horse that I think could win it all. At 20-1 for jockey Kazushi Kimura, and Fujita is the trainer. He draws the outside posts, which is going to be very, very tough. But Mandarin Hero has been very impressive in his races leading up to the Santa Anita Derby, winning all but one race where he finished second. Those races, though, were non-graded races, so he should be winning those ones. He then had a very impressive showing in the Santa Anita Derby where he finished second behind my original second choice, Practical Move. He's got great speed figures as well, and I do think it's going to be very challenging for him to find the board coming from the very outside. But if it's any horse to do it, I think Mandarin Hero is the one. I look to throw some money on him on Saturday. So let's get to my predictions here, and I am going to go with Forte to win it all due to the fact that he has won the most Grade 1 races with 4, and he just trumps over the competition with that many wins in Grade 1 stakes races. Then I'm going to go with Tapit Trice, who has been very impressive with his wins. And third will be Angel of Empire, who no matter what his odds are, he finds a way to win. Some other horses that I'll be throwing money on in my exotics are going to be Derma Sotogoke, Kingsbarns, and Mandarin Hero. I have him as a long shot, but he'll be coming in from some exotics. Some other long shots for me are going to be Skinner, who hit the board in 4 of 6 career starts. He likes the distance and almost speed practical move alongside with Mandarin Hero, and also the 51 Reincarnate, who has never finished worse than third. So there it is for you, folks. With the exotics, I'm still working my way through it. I'll make those decisions on Saturday, so make sure you're following to see what I specifically bet on Saturday night. My Instagram is at Sportslock Podcast, and TikTok is at Sportslock Podcast. So make sure that you follow, you share, you subscribe, get the word out about this podcast. I will be doing the same thing for the Preakness, the same thing for the Belmont Stakes, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it enough and thought it was helpful that you'll pass it along to your friends. So thank you for listening in. Good luck to everybody on Saturday. I hope that I come back to do the Preakness podcast with amazing news of me winning a lot of money off of this 149th Kentucky Derby. There's a lot of money that's going to be there with really no clear favorites. So by picking the right horses, that'll get the job done. But that might require a little bit of money put in, but that's okay. We're going to do whatever we can to be right on Saturday night. Thank you for listening in. I hope you guys enjoyed, and enjoy the 149th Kentucky Derby this Saturday from Churchill Downs.